Hey everyone, welcome to Office Hours here on Work It Daily, the YouTube channel that helps you remove all the roadblocks to career success. So good to have you all here today. I'm just going to give it a second to get live. So for those of you that have never been to Office Hours, we are a career coaching company, and every Wednesday we broadcast live and answer your questions in real time. There's two things you need to know about this. First of all, if you do have a question, what you want to do is what a lot of people have already done here. It's not their first time. You put the word question itself in all caps, followed by your question. It helps me pick it out of all the chatter. And the second thing to know is that we can't answer every question, and the chat goes so fast that sometimes we, hit on the ones that we see. So I just let you know that in advance. If you are looking to have your questions answered by a trained set of career coaches and support specialists, they're trained by me and work with me, then you can learn more about joining Work It Daily, which is exactly what we do. We are the first and best, I might add, online career coaching service. We're super affordable, 24/7 access, and we are changing thousands and thousands of lives. And I know some of the people will attest to that here. And I'm so proud of all the work that we're doing here, helping people really take control of their careers and realizing that coaching is a path to greatness. It's not a sign of weakness. If you want to get ahead in your career and your life, you deserve a career coach, and we're making sure that anybody that really wants one can afford one. So very excited about that. All right, I'm going to get down to the business of answering questions. I've only got 30 minutes here today, so we better get this party started. So shout out to Kimberly. Kimberly says, hi JT, should I share my connections at the company with the people that I know who are applying for the same position as me? That's a great question. So, Kimberly, that's a tough one because you're applying to a position. My guess is you've got some peers in your situation that have recognized people there. I think that you can really have two schools of thought here. Everyone's different, so I don't think there's one right answer in this situation. One school of thought is to say to them, look, I'm going to be really honest with you. I am also applying for this position and really focused on getting the job. And so I'm uncomfortable giving out my connections and having multiple people apply for that position because I feel like it might confuse them at this time. I'd like to get through the process, and you know what? If I'm not selected to move on in the next round, then I will go ahead and pass your name along as well. So that's one option. It's very transparent, it's polite, it makes total sense, and it is really true. But the other school of thought is, hey, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So sure, I'll mention you, and maybe you frame it up as an email of saying, look, but please be aware I'm applying to this position too, and I would like you to be respectful of that and mention that I've applied to it if you're going to reach out to them. So you could kind of ask that as well. A couple of ways of doing it. I mean, if you're truly not comfortable with it, I guess that's the third option. Say no. But I think those first two options that I've provided allow you to give a level of comfort there so that you cannot alienate your contacts. Because, right, it's a small world and your network is your net worth, as we always say at Work It Daily. So, I think if you can have a really honest conversation with them and do what's right for you and right by them, then you'll be in good shape. Okay? Good luck, Kimberly. That's a good question. All right. So I got a question from CS today. Can people in HR be trusted? What is it safe to tell them? Is it true that lately that employees are considered disposable and replaceable in the U.S.? Wow. So, the first thing you need to understand is someone who, I was in HR and recruiting for many years before I launched Work It Daily. This is my professional background. You're saying, can they be trusted? And I think my first question is, with what information? Because the reality is they work for the employer. They get a paycheck from the employer, and their job is to do right by the employer and the employees, right? Human resources. Their job is to manage the human resources of the organization. But their alliance and their loyalty has to be to the place that they, pays their salary every week. Pretty simple. Now, can they be trusted? Yes, because there's a lot of rules and ethical obligations that, good HR professionals have. But, it really depends on the information that you are trusting them with. And I think you have to be careful of that. And candidly, this is one of the reasons why we built Work It Daily. Because I see these kinds of questions and people don't know, what can I say to HR? What could get me in trouble? Well, what will go in my file? Well, if you have a career coach like us, you can actually talk to us first, right? You can message us in our system and say, here's my situation. Is this something I should share with HR or not? And so I wouldn't have you share that personal information here, but in a private setting, you can tell me the very specifics, and then my team and I can respond to you and tell you, yes, say this, don't say this, don't do that. I love coaching people through that process because the reality is, as I said, HR is paid by the employer, and they're always going to have the employer's back first, Okay. Now that second part of that question you asked is, are they disposable and replaceable? Those are the wrong choice of words. When I launched this website a long time ago, before it was even called Work It Daily, our tagline was, because every job is temporary. And I truly believe that. Whether you are a full-time employee or a contract worker, you will not work at the same company for 20 or 30 years anymore. So every job is temporary. And so I don't like the term disposable and replaceable. The reality is that jobs change, companies change, needs change, people change. And so are people changing at a much faster rate? Sure. But are job seekers quitting jobs and going to jobs they think are better? Absolutely. So I don't think it's one-sided, and I certainly don't think I would use those terms, but you should come to the US and you should work in the US full well understanding every job is temporary. And I think people would back me up here. That is just the reality. I mean, the average person stays about 2 years in a job here in the US. So it truly is temporary. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, that's the way that it goes. All right, great questions again. Let's see. I'm rolling through. Give me a second. Oh, so many questions. Okay. Chris Starkey says, how do I position my last 3 years of experience in a totally different industry so that they adds value when applying for positions in my original career? Okay. So Chris, one of the problems that we have is when you're switching careers, when you're changing industries, you applying online and updating your resume and LinkedIn profile and applying online is not going to work for you. There's about 3% chance that you even get called for an interview when you are a match online. It's even less so when your experience isn't a direct match, because the automatic filters in the applicant tracking systems are saying only show me out of the thousands of candidates that apply are the ones that are in the industry that we're looking for. So the traditional forms aren't going to work for you, and just adjusting it on your resume isn't going to be the solution. If you were inside our program and going through our job search plan, what you would be doing is first assessing the transferable skills from your previous 3 years in your previous industry that are applicable universally, that are applicable to this job. And then you build, using our custom template, a resume and a LinkedIn profile that actually convey those. So we de-emphasize the industry background and we put on, in the forefront the skills, the transferable skills that we know that they're looking for in this job. You place the emphasis there. That being said, the second piece to it is learning how to write what we call a disruptive cover letter. So you've got to be able to write a cover letter that is not all about, hey, I'm great for the job. It's more about, hey, here's how I feel insanely connected, deeply connected to your industry and to the work that you do. Here's how I know that what you do is right, better, faster, important, whatever the theory is. But learning to write a letter like that gets their attention. They go, wow, this person, Chris, really gets us. Then they look at the resume and go, well, okay, he doesn't have the exact industry experience we're looking for, but that cover letter was so compelling. He gets us. We should at least have a phone call with him. And if you can even further that with some networking strategy, which we teach you here inside LinkedIn, we teach you in our video tutorials how to connect with those employers that you want to work at so that you can get past the ATS system, get them to look at this disruptive cover letter and have a conversation with you. Now you're going to take control of the situation. And this is how people career change. So there is a strategy that you will have to apply, and it does not involve applying online. It definitely doesn't involve just updating the resume and the LinkedIn profile, because that won't help you. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news with respect to that, but I am telling you the good news is if you know the strategy that I just outlined and how to do it, you really can connect with those employers. And they're always looking for people. There's a reason why you want to switch industries. That's what's got to come to the forefront, but that doesn't translate in traditional online application systems. So you're going to have to go around the process to make that happen. Okay? Super question. Wow, lots of good ones today. So the company that I just joined asked me to come out with a career plan. It was pretty hard though. How should I approach such a task? So one of the things that I always teach inside Work It Daily, we actually have a course on this too, because we have a course for everything in case you're wondering. It's called the First 90 Days. And it is how you take complete ownership of your own onboarding. We call it self-onboarding. So what is onboarding? Well, in HR, some companies build out these beautiful onboarding programs for a new employee to help them acclimate and integrate and get up to speed as quickly as possible. But most companies don't do this. And so if you're a company that doesn't, or in this case is saying, hey, do it for yourself, you want to build a 90-day plan. Now, what's in this plan? Well, we teach you how to set up the communication strategy between you and your boss, how to get to know your peers, how to identify, somebody that can be your mentor or your buddy in the organization, and all the things that you should be familiarizing yourself with over 90 days so that you're really knocking it out of the park and showing what a team player you are and how you're able to take control and be responsible for yourself. Now, why should you do this? Well, studies show that the first 90 days are the most critical in determining how successful you'll be in an organization. And people who were ranked very high in terms of how well they've acclimated in the first 90 days tend to stay longer in an organization and get promoted faster. So that is the reason, folks, while you should learn to onboard yourself. Self-onboarding is huge. And if you learn how to do it, then it never matters anymore. Wherever you go, it doesn't matter if they have their own program or not. You'll be able to do it for yourself. So my advice to you is to really focus on that onboarding. And again, you can join our program, get instant access to that course, and you can start to work through that and work with our career coaches to make sure that you're building the right plan. Okay, let's see here. So it looks like I want to go back because I saw a difficult question for Saval. Saval says, this is a difficult question. I was once fired due to be over-enthusiastic and results-driven, which stressed out the team. How do you explain that on an interview? Wow, that's a great question, Saval. So that does happen. So if you haven't already, Saval, I would encourage you to take our interaction style assessment test. It's called the ISAT. It's free. I'm sure the team will chat you the link. It's just workitdaily.com/ISAT, ISAT. It's a 20-question quiz, and when you're done, it's going to tell you about your predominant communication style in the workplace. There's 4 predominant styles if you all aren't familiar with that. And in doing so, it will ask if you want to get some information on how to use your ISAT. Make sure you say yes, put your email address in and say yes, because it sends you a video tutorial that I did that's free that walks you through these styles and how they can be, your greatest strength, but also your greatest weakness. You put the wrong style in the wrong environment and you have problems. And it sounds like that's what happened here with you. So my advice is for you to be honest in the interview and say, that's a great question. Why'd you leave your last job? That's a great question. Unfortunately, my personality, I was very enthusiastic and really results driven, and it didn't mesh with the other team members. They weren't looking for somebody that was responsive and that energized. They took it as me being competitive and didn't feel it was a good fit for the environment. And that was a huge learning lesson for me, because you want to see it as that. We teach you inside Work It Daily. We have a course called Fired to Hired. And that course would be really great for you, Saval. And in Fired to Hired, we help you embrace and understand what to say, because it's very important, folks, whenever you have a situation in your career past that didn't end well, it's very, very important that you take some form of accountability. Now, I have a lot of people react and go, I didn't do anything wrong and it wasn't my fault. But the thing is HR has been trained that if somebody says it wasn't their fault, they're not going to hire you. Because the truth is that, we say that it takes 2 to tango, and in HR we say there's 3 sides to every story, yours, theirs, and the truth. I mean, the reality is subjective. And so we want to know that you can experience, learn, and grow. And this is a methodology that we also teach inside this class. So what you have to do is frame out an answer, Saval, that says, here's what I experienced, here are the facts, right? Here's what I learned, meaning here's how I take accountability, because accountability sets you free, my friends. Don't be afraid of accountability. It sets you free. Here's what I learned, and now here's how I'm going to apply it going forward. Here's how I've grown. And so in your case, you're going to say, what I've learned is that my personality is very, outgoing, that I need to find the right environment that will tap into that. But I also have learned that I need to recognize the other personalities around me and make sure that I can do what I can to make them feel comfortable with me. So get to know me, understand my personality, get to understand their personalities, and be really emotionally intelligent and sensitive to the different personalities on the team. And, you can even say, I took this test and I got this information and I really learned about my style and the other styles. And I think this is going to make me a better employee now because I learned a valuable lesson from that experience. That's what you have to be able to say. And I say have to be able to say because that's a journey. Whenever we've had a situation like that, you really do want to walk through the process of learning how to internalize that and accept it and talk about it in a very comfortable way. And I will tell you that our Fire to Hire course will take you through all of that. So I strongly encourage you to check it out. All right. Hey, don't forget, folks, you got to put question in all caps in order for me to find it here. Ernest says, I take it that it is best to go out and fill out a resume from the company. I have found it very difficult to get an answer from sending out a resume to an online job. Okay, so if I'm reading that correctly. Yes, I mean, studies show, as I said earlier today, that less than 3% of people who apply online ever hear from an employer. And that's because the applicant systems have automatic filtering that goes on. So you're probably not even being seen. Ernest, the goal is to connect with people that work at the company and get your resume in the physical hands of the hiring manager. That is the number one way. 80% of all jobs are gotten via referral, folks. And it's not referral in the sense that your best friend works at the company or somebody you know very well. They're through something called weak ties. And weak ties are somebody you do know very well, knows somebody at a company you want to work at, and so they make the introduction, and knowing it's on you to connect, but then you are introduced to this person and you say, hey, here's why I'm a big fan of the company. I've written this cover letter that tells my story. Can you give me some tips or advice on how I can stand out in the hiring process? You don't ask for a job, you don't ask for an introduction, you just say, can you give me some tips? And then sometimes they say, oh, well, let me look at your stuff, and hey, why don't I refer you in? So that's the process that you need to take these days, definitely. All right. Let's see. I've been networking with an HR manager whose response to my query about a job opportunity was, the first step is to apply online, and then we can schedule from there. What should I do? You should follow the instructions. So if you actually talk to somebody in an organization and they tell you to apply online, make sure you do what they say. You do not want to disobey, because that's the first sign that they shouldn't hire you. So I would fill out the application. One thing I would tell you is, never ever, folks, leave a space blank in an online application. It can actually disqualify you, and people don't even know that. So fill out every field. Even if you don't have information for it, you can say not applicable or something like that. But complete every field in the application, and when you're done, circle back and say, I did exactly what you asked. I filled out the application. Is there anything else I can do to further my candidacy at this time? Okay? So that is definitely follow the instructions. Villian says, I have already passed the initial and second interview last week. Congratulations, Villian. They did not specify any timeline for feedback. Should I contact the responsible HR person, and when? Yes. And the rule of thumb is, if they didn't give you a specific time, to wait 1 full business week. So you always want to wait 5 business days. The other stipulation there is to never contact them on a Monday. And today's Wednesday, so it's okay as long as it's been 5 days. Mondays are really tough days in recruiting. You're coming off the weekend. Most people have the Monday morning blues. There's a lot on their plate. They're trying to get back into the workplace routine. So you never want to contact people on those days, because that can kind of set them off. You always want to wait till at least Tuesday. So as long as it's past Tuesday and it's been 5 business days, I would tell you to follow up. And what you say is, I've truly enjoyed the process. If there's anything else I can do to further my candidacy, let me know. Okay? Let's see. Dawn says, after the initial interview, is it okay to ask to join their LinkedIn network, or is that too soon? I would not try to join their network until you're through the interview process, Dawn. I used to say that was okay. So for some of you might say, oh, JT, a long time ago you said it was okay. But things have really changed on LinkedIn in the last couple of years. And now people are very sensitive to who they accept and connect with. And I think when you're in the middle of an interview process, that can make them feel like you're going to try to follow up with them too much regarding the job. So I would wait till it's over. And if you get the job, great. And if you don't, that's a reason to reach out and say, I know I didn't get the job, and I'm so glad you found the right candidate for your position, but I enjoyed talking to you. Can we stay connected? And of course, that's easy for them to say, sure, because, the outcome's over. You're being very cordial about it. So why not connect with you? And that means you've got them as a connection for the next time a job opens up there. And then you can reach out to them and ask them for some pointers. Okay? Okay. Woo, lots of questions today. Hey, Patty. Patty says, I have education but little experience. I find myself looking at 3 types of jobs at 3 locations, creating 9 possibilities. Oh, my goodness. Can I use your system in all 9 areas? Yes. The simple answer is absolutely yes. That's not uncommon, Patty. In fact, once you go through our job search plan, which, by the way, if I can just jump on my soapbox for a minute, because I've got a lot of existing members here. Folks, if you're in job search mode, I see people jump into our job search plan course and go right to the resume and right to the LinkedIn. That's like midway through the course. There's a whole bunch of lessons before then. There's a reason for that. If I wanted you to have your resume be the first thing you did, I'd make it the first lesson in the course, but I didn't. And there's a reason for that. Most people don't know the right things to put on the resume and on the LinkedIn profile and in the cover letter until they do the proper self-assessment work to understand their brand. You are a business of one, and you are marketing your services. You want to love the job that you do next. That means you need to choose the right things to market about yourself that sync up with what you want to do and who you want to be. And I can't tell you how many people don't know that about themselves. You don't. If you did, you wouldn't need any help. You'd be in your dream job right now. And I say that it's not your fault because nobody taught this in school, right? School didn't teach us anything about this, about how to build a career and figure out who we are. And so until you follow our process, step by step, understand yourself and determine who you are and what you want, now you can tailor the message. Now you can create the career tools. So the answer to your question, Patty, is yes, but please promise me that you'll start from the beginning and you'll work through the job search plan because the people that have the most incredible success in our program, the people that literally get inside our private Slack channel and say, oh my gosh, I just got my dream job at a company on my bucket list, are the people that follow this plan from the very beginning, because it gives you so much confidence and momentum. It brings all the pieces into focus like a puzzle, and you're able to zero in, and it just catapults you. So don't skip, don't shortcut, all right? Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. Let's see. So Judy says, I'm changing industries. I'm not getting any calls with my disruptive cover letters after 3 months. Will it take a while to build up LinkedIn connections? What can I do to speed up? Well, I think my first question, Judy, is I think you'd want to send in your disruptive cover letter and have them take a look again for the industry, because sometimes we design a great disruptive cover letter, but if it's not getting traction, then it means you need to change your marketing strategy. And I think we need to take a look at it and say, it's probably very well written and in complete alignment with how we teach the disruptive cover letter, but maybe the storyline needs to be a little different to get their attention. So I would start there. Secondly, I hope that you're playing informational interview bingo. So informational interview bingo is when you find 5 people that you think are industry thought leaders, right, at 5 companies that you are very interested in working in. And instead of asking them for help getting a job, you set up an informational interview to learn more about them and their role and how they landed a job there. And then as you meet with each one, at the end of that interview, you say, you know, this has been super helpful. If you could pick one person in the company that you think is doing outstanding work that I could really learn a lot from, who would it be, and would you be willing to introduce me? And by asking someone to introduce you to just a single person, you're making it easy on them, and they can think of one person who'd be willing to talk to you, and then you do it again and again and again. And I always challenge people to do this, because if you were to do 5 people at 5 companies and start working through, I guarantee you, you'd never fill the bingo card before you'd probably end up in a job. By doing informational interviewing, by focusing your questions on somebody in terms of how they've been successful, what they think it takes to be successful in the organization, you're going to get a lot of insight. You're also going to build your network up much, much faster. Okay? So let's go back to work on that disruptive cover letter, see if we can tweak it, and start a little informational interview bingo, okay? Let's see. Marcella says, I'm trying to relocate to another state. I was fortunate enough to get a contact with a potential employer. I want to stay in the forefront of their mind. How much contact is too much contact? You don't want to overkill it, and the best thing would be to see if they would take your phone call and then say, how often can I stay in touch with you about opportunities? I also think it's very important that you tell them when you plan to be there. Because if you're saying, well, I can't move there until I get a job, no one's going to hire you. And if you haven't already seen the YouTube video that I did on this, I actually did a long distance job search video that walks you through the process you should be using. And one step in that process, there are many, but one step is to have a date by which you will be there that you articulate to people. They need to hear that you're moving there other than a job. As an employer, I'll just be totally transparent with you. We never want to hire somebody that's saying, I'm going to move there for a job with you. It's very scary, because if you don't like it there, you don't have friends or family or other valid reasons for being there, then it's very easy for you to up and quit, and then I've trained you and you're gone, and it was a total waste of time. So no employer is going to do that. Any employer that's ever done it once and got burned will never do it again. So you have to be able to say, look, I am planning to be there no matter what. Here are the reasons why, and this is why I'm looking for employment. And that, again, is just one of the steps you should take in a long distance job search. So be sure to check out that video, okay? All right, I want to jump back up because I saw a question from Michelle C. If you're searching for a job with a nonprofit organization, is there anything additional or different you would need to know for your search? No, there's not really anything different other than you've really got to intensify that networking. Nonprofit jobs are coveted. You know, it's amazing because they don't pay really high, right? It's nonprofit. but the work is so incredibly rewarding. And so it's competitive. Lots of people want the jobs. What I will tell you, as someone who is on the board of a nonprofit, so I work closely with the CEO of the nonprofit I'm on the board of, but I've also met other CEOs of nonprofits. They will tell you that they find many candidates believe they want to work in nonprofit, but they're not ready. So the thing that you need to prepare to do, Michelle, is talk about how resourceful you are, how gritty you are, how you can work with outdated materials, with no materials. How are you comfortable working in environments where you don't have the latest and greatest? Because that's one of the things they see. People with a big heart and lots of enthusiasm joins their team, and within months they're miserable because they feel like they can't do the job because they don't have the tools that they had at their for-profit jobs previously. Big pet peeve of CEOs of nonprofits. So I would tell you that's an aspect that you need to hone in on. But as far as the overall job search, no, it's the exact same process that we teach in our job search plan. In fact, you would do it to the letter because I just mentioned earlier the first, parts of the job search plan are you understanding yourself and your reasons and your convictions for the work that you want to do. In your case, you have to get very clear on that messaging for nonprofit. Okay? All right, great question. All right, team. So Mark says, what's the best way to network? I have my contact email brief notes to this, and I follow up directly with a longer note, or should I contact and forward everything up front? No, you do not want to contact and forward everything up front. Way too pushy, Mark. Follow your gut. What you're doing is correct. Initially, you connect with people with a very simple, a connection request on LinkedIn, 300 words. Hey, came across your profile, really impressed with this, or see you work at such a place, would love to connect, something simple. Then it's a follow-up email. And what I always suggest is the follow-up email should be, thanks for connecting. I see that we share the same interest for this industry or skill set or whatever it is. Thought you might enjoy this article. I'd love to stay in touch with you and learn more about the work that you're doing in the near future, right? So add some value, share some value, send some link love, give them something to think about, talk about, because that's going to make an impression with them. You're not asking for anything yet. Then later on in about a week, you can follow up and say, hey, how'd you like the article that I sent you or the video that I sent you? I'd love to ask you just a couple questions about your work. Would it be okay to, send them to you by message here, or maybe could we talk on the phone for a few minutes and then see what they say there? So again, you're asking for permission. You're working through that process very carefully. So the answer is keep it short to connect. Add value by giving them something, and then follow up a week later with permission to ask them just a couple of questions. You really want to limit it. Say, I've got 2 questions for you regarding your industry, or 2 questions regarding your work at XYZ. Can I ask you? And then see what they say, in which case then you can engage in that. Okay? All right, great question. Marcella says, looking for a job with school districts in the online app and then a panel of 7 people. No chance to ask questions or even to introduce yourself. Any ideas on how to approach it? Well, the first thing I do, Marcella, and it's a long shot, but I would definitely jump on LinkedIn and see if anybody's written about the interview experience with the school district. You'd be amazed. Glassdoor is pretty big these days. There might be some information there about what it's like. Regarding a panel interview, in your case, Marcella, if you're a member of our program, I would tell you to jump to our interview prep plan. We have an entire standalone video series course on interview prep, and you want to focus yourself in on the behavioral questions. We teach you the 18 most common behavioral questions that get asked in interviews, especially in panel interviews, and you want to walk through and understand your answers to that and how to answer those correctly. We also have a segment on panel interviews and tips on how to approach that as well. So that would be my advice to you. Our interview prep plan is probably the best course for you to jump into right now. Okay? Awesome. Nyla says, I'm applying for an entry-level clinical research job, but I don't have any experience yet. I did a sport in undergrad that took up all my extra time. How do I explain that in an interview? Well, Nyla, I think that, again, this goes back to that transparency and honesty. I think letting them know that you were busy playing a sport while you were in school and it didn't give you a lot of time. But I think you want to say, as a result, I recognize that I'm behind now, and that's why I'm so excited about this opportunity, because I'm really anxious to get started in learning and growing. So you just have to take the ownership there. Also, it's very important, and again, watch our disruptive cover letter tutorial inside the program. That video will walk you through how to talk about your passion for what they do, the work they do, the customers they serve, the problem they solve. You as a young professional have to get very clear, because what you lack in experience, you can make up for in passion and enthusiasm. And if they know that you're deeply connected to the work that they do and understand why, you can't just say it like, I love what you do. It's not what I'm suggesting. And the tutorial will show you it's more about you telling a story of how you've come to understand and learn that what they do is important. That's the story that you've got to get good at telling in those interviews and through that disruptive cover letter, because they'll say, okay, you know, this person doesn't have the experience, but wow, they clearly have the passion and it's internally motivated. They really, really know what we do and why we do it. So we can teach them the rest. We can get them the experience if they're motivated by what we do. And that's what employers are looking for, folks. Really, regardless of any age, they're looking for the deep connection that you have to the work that they do, because that's what tells them you're going to get up and come to work every day. And that's important. Let's see. All right, so I know that my team, I'm going to stop here because boy, time has flown. I just want to remind you, if you are a member of our Work It Daily program, you know what to do. You can log in, check out all the courses that I mentioned today. Make sure you're participating in our private Slack community. That's where you get your coaching and you can work with other members. It's private, which means it's not out in the universe for people to see. It's not out on social media. It's just such a great place to bond with like-minded professionals and get the help that you need on some, you know, timely things or sensitive topics, sensitive questions that you have. Maybe you've got something that's a bit personal. For those of you that aren't a member of our program yet, we're popping in a discount code. We always offer a discount code to attendees. It's only good for today. It's live. We turn it on for today. It's your chance to be able to join us and save $10 a month off our subscription rate, which is pretty amazing. I will tell you right now, if you've ever priced out what it costs to work one-on-one with a career coach, it's hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. And we are nothing like that. We are very inexpensive, very affordable. And how do we do that? Well, we use the power of technology, right? We've been able to build out a technology-based platform that lets us communicate and talk and work with you in a way that lets all the members share the cost, like a gym membership if you think about it. We have lots of members and they share the cost of supporting it with our premier coaches so that we can make it very affordable for you. So total game changer. It's not going to be like anything you've ever experienced. Hopefully some of our current members will back me up on that and share in the comments right here. But if you have been thinking about career coaching or thinking about getting help, do it. Do it today. You've got nothing to lose. You can cancel at any time, right? But why not try something new and different for your career? All right, folks. Well, I've loved working with you all today. 30 minutes always goes super fast. I wish you the best. Of course, we'll be back here again next week with office hours. So if you're not ready to join us yet, I'm bummed, but you can always come back next week and hang out with us because we love to see you here, okay? And if you haven't already, folks, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the little bell. That's two separate things to do. The subscribe means you'll be notified when we get content, but the bell will notify you when we go live. And that's important, right? You're not going to get the content consistently if you subscribe, but you'll always get the content if you hit the bell. So I find that to be important to tell people as well, okay? Because we're always producing new content. All right, team. Thank you so much. It's been great hanging out with all of you. Hope to see a lot more of you inside the Work It Daily platform. And until next time, remember what we always tell you. If you want to win, you've got to work it daily.